This was a presentation made online at NIT Jamshedpur regarding this workshop on recent advances in pure and applied algebra, but this on counting 1 to 10 in Tamil, Sumerian and Indus Valley. How did ancient people counted by names, words, say 1, 2, 3, by Professor Purushottam and myself and my senior colleague Professor Ramasamy, AMS. So if you consider how Sumerians started writing, Western scholars say the motivation came for them to keep business accounts and need to count. And if you critically examine the three terms, Sippa, Dubba, Saraku, which relate to business goods and services, are really related to Tamil as well. Say, for example, the part that what you see is Sippa could be related to Tamil word Sippam. Likewise, Dubba is actually Tupur, and Saraku, the goods. And in Hindi also you see Dubba could have been the etymologically root forming for the word Dubashi. And so also the word how the father was written in Sumerian by A plus 5 plus A, that could be easily seen as Tamil word Ayya, meaning the same father or elderly. So Sumerian had a hexadecimal system, but here we are going to see 1 to 10. And Sumerian had given names to gods as well as to numbers, which was not known in Indus Valley. As Tamil people still have 60-year cycle on to hell, which etymologically relate to on. So we could also see the Sumerian numbers as relating to Tamil. So for example, the number 2, mean kangal 2, alim, ali, the line legs 4, Ayya 5, as which that we have seen earlier. And this we could see in Wikipedia. And what in the last row we have Ka, U, Ma, Sa written in Tamil, referring to numbers, but how it was taught was not known. So Professor Madhivana had worked out in connecting Tamil and Indus based on the strokes. And for online poster I had worked this, and this is very interesting if we collect all languages and how they counted numbers, at least certain from certain languages. Say for example, we can consider this view that Indus people spoke an earlier form of Dravidian languages, and if we accept that, we can read the Indus Valley numbers in Tamil or in Dravidian language. Or if we don't accept that, then we can have collections of numbers, names from other languages. Presence of numbers within text or scripts help us to close in on identifying the language that could have been spoken in ancient times, particularly in Sumeria as well as in Indus Valley civilizations. This particular study is preliminary, explorative, subjective, and this requires further study and we started from 1 to 10, gives us a good lead, and we can also see a few important literatures as say Kulipaha research on a Bayesian phylogenetic study of the Dravidian language, which was sponsored by Planck Institute. They predicted Dravidian language root language to be at about 4,000 years backward. If you take this, you will see that Indus and Sumerian languages form as a good basis as candidates. Likewise, Mukhopadhyaya had worked on Indus science as found numerical and meteorological science, clearly showing, quantifying them in certain ways. We also agree on to this, and further she finds how elephant word Piru had spread from Indus to the Western countries, the languages. And we could expect similarly the numbers could have spread across. And Nisha Yadav and Mayan Vahya had worked on the Indus geometry, and they exclaim that the Indus geometry skills are of very high order. So that tells us that the Indus people are, if they are very good in geometry skills, so that could have reflected on their scripts as well. And in fact, we could see some of the Indus scripts as engineering sketches, plan view, cross-section view, simple views, abstract views, like that. So Peterson had made some studies on metal inscriptions. So also one Kalyana Raman, he says that the signs seen on the metals could mean propositions, compositions of metal used. But Peterson had tried to work on the weight as whether they relate to weights of the metal objects, but he concludes that Indus people could have used octal systems of numbers. Gangali had shown drastically different signs for number 8 to 10, as we could see here, and it's very interesting. And this goes well with Peterson's observation as internal evidence. Anyhow, we have also attempted in the past to read Gangali and reinterpret it. Particularly here in this sign we see the first script reflects number 3. So he says moon in Gondi, and teen in Hindi, that I am reading as reinterpreting it as third chief priest is here. Likewise, we see Purnachandra Jiva had read numbers in Tamil and scripts back working from the Tamil scripts. And say, for example, this 6 plus the mean sign, the star sign as L, this is RL. Likewise, again we come across say 5 sign plus what we say is this particular the second in the row as Ya, as Ayya or Ayya, something like this. This is very similar to Sumerian reading, but with a different sign. So Professor Madhivanan had also worked out and related numbers and in the signs. And he has taken the number of strokes to read the Indus signs as numbers. And earlier they had made a certain attempt reading the Sumerian numbers in Tamil as found in EPSD Sumerian dictionary, and even the number 1, earlier I thought that could be Achu. Achu means axis. When we have a charam, the way say even in matrimonial relations, what the bride presents to the or the groom has presents to the bride. And as I have already